therapy, where you're just going to go there and go, yeah, I have these negative thoughts. Yeah, I think the worst case scenario. Yeah, I don't trust anyone. Yeah, I feel really insecure. I don't feel loved. That's just going to reinforce the problem. All you're going to be doing there is reminding yourself of your habitual way of thinking. You may even reinforce it. So we need to look at, is it helping you or not helping you? What else could you think? What could be the best case scenario? What could the best situation or outcome be? And then changing at the subconscious level. And this is where I create a trance track for people. And by trance, I don't mean like dance trance, although I used to love trance back in the day. I'm talking about a relaxing deep meditation where your conscious mind switches off, you feel relaxed, you feel in a sleepy state, and then we give your mind lots of positive thoughts, opening the possibilities that you can have and be what you want in life, so that you can be free. So when working with Adrienne and James, it was really important to gain agreement for them both to make the changes to support one another. So let's look at some signs that can indicate an addiction to misery. And if you identify one of these in yourself, you can change it. So the first one is where you struggle to accept that you can change things in your life. And this can be quite a difficult one, really, that I see quite a lot of people come to me for. They've reached that point in their life where they just feel like their happiness is outside of their own control. That others have good things in life because they are fortunate. It's where people tend to think that all bad things have happened to them, and this means that they're never going to have the life that they want. They're never going to be as lucky as others, and that they need to accept their fate, their shortcomings, and they're just doomed to live a mediocre or a not very good life. The second is you blame everything and everyone else for how you feel and what's happening to you in your life. Instead of looking inwards, you tend to blame others for things that have happened to you. For example, you always feel like your friends or family don't include you in events, when in reality you either tend to shy away or decline invites, putting yourself in the position of showing no interest in your friends or family events, and they may lose interest as they expect you to decline because that's been your habit, and you see yourself as a victim in that situation. So that could be one example. Or you say, well, I'm like this because my parents did this, or I'm like this because you did this to me, or you hurt me 5 years ago and now this is who I am. It's where you're not really proactive in creating change, where you're not realizing that you are responsible also for your reactions and your feelings. For example, going back to the invitation example, do you invite people to things? Do you suggest and show interest in others? Or do you feel hard done by? Do you focus on what people aren't doing for you rather than what you could do for others, for example? The third thing is where everything becomes a competition about you having the hardest life. So this is when your friends or family members are going through a difficult time and you tend to share how difficult your life is or has been. You always share how tough you've had it compared to them. You can't support others because you're in the victim mode and feel like your life is harder, it's been more of a struggle than anyone else. I've had a few men and women that have come to me and booked my 3-day breakthrough session with me. They've shared that their mothers do this, that no matter what they're going through in their life, and they share, they've got ill health, their child's going through this, their husband's going through this, no matter what they say, their mother will say, well, I've had it worse than you, it's been worse for me, I'm currently suffering more than you, my health is worse than yours. And it's so draining when someone feels like they need to be in competition with you in sharing that their life is worse than yours. Their hardship is more difficult than whatever you're going through. And it can make you want to avoid them because you feel misunderstood, unloved, and they're not interested in you. The fourth thing is you can't accept good things happening. Even if there are instances where good things are happening or you're enjoying something, you tend to shut it down quickly and you want to focus on the negative things. You may say to yourself, oh, something bad is bound to happen soon, or this good thing isn't going to last, even if there's absolutely nothing negative happening in that moment in time. You're sitting and waiting for a turn of events. The fifth thing is that you take everything personally. Let's say someone explains to you their feedback on your work, on an idea, on an approach, an opinion, on your appearance. It could be in a relationship, a friendship, a work scenario. And you literally only hear the negative and repeat that negative internally and take offense. You delete all the positive. You may think to yourself or say out loud, I should have known this wouldn't work. I can't believe they think that of me. How dare they? Everyone's out to get me. No one likes me. I can't be friends with this person anymore. When this isn't an accurate overview of what's actually happened. And this can be even more dramatic when you think that everything has a personal attack on you. A person doesn't reply to your text message for a few days. You think they don't like you, or they're trying to be passive-aggressive towards you. When a person cancels on you, you believe that they don't respect you. Or let's say a family member says that they can't answer your phone call. You think they're deliberately avoiding you or ignoring you or trying to keep you in the dark or hiding some secret. Let's say your romantic partner is on the phone a lot of the time or comes home late from work. You assume that they're not interested in talking to you. You assume that they're deliberately trying to avoid you. You take everything personally. You take everything like it's an attack on you when it's not. And sometimes this comes up with couples that I work with where one person's not feeling very well. So they're naturally off. They're naturally distant. They naturally don't want to be hugged or touched. They've got a bad stomach or a cold or a headache or whatever. Or they're just feeling a bit down. And the other person's like going into overdrive thinking the relationship is over. Or they're heading for big trouble. Or they're having an affair. When really, they're just having a few days of not feeling very well. So what can you do if you or a loved one is in this situation? What can you do to overcome the negativity? If you're in a relationship with someone who is always focusing on the negative in life and doesn't allow themselves or others to enjoy the good times, as I've mentioned, it can put a huge strain on not only on the relationship but on life in general. So some things that you can consider are accepting what you can and cannot control. If you want them in your life, aim to love and accept them as best you can, without adopting the same energy and outlook. You cannot change their thinking for them. You can lead them, inspire them, encourage them, and share when you find their behaviour or comments too much. All you can control is yourself. What you focus your energy on and how you will create happiness for yourself. Also plan things that lift you, organise family outings, go out with friends, do things that make you feel alive and positive. And hopefully this will have a positive impact on them too. 2 is to understand the difference between anxiety and a negative mindset. It's so important to make yourself aware of the difference between the two. Between someone who suffers with anxiety and someone who is addicted to negativity and misery. Negativity is anger at people, life, situation, being fed up, frustrated at others, blaming and seeing problems with everything. As I mentioned, those that come from my anger management, it's like they're angry at everything, and when I speak to them just after a few minutes, I can also see that there's a huge amount of self-loathing, low confidence, and anger at themselves that's present, which increases the anger at other things in life. They can't forgive themselves sometimes for mistakes that they've made. And anxiety is worry and fears about health, finances, situations, and wanting to safeguard and protect from further harm. If your partner suffers from anxiety or negativity, it's helpful to remember that their thoughts can be overwhelming, and they're not deliberately choosing to ruin the mood or sabotage the day or the relationship. They may feel it's impossible to change their mindset, impossible to think positively. And sometimes I agree with them. telling oneself to think positively, to focus on what to be grateful for, can be extremely difficult if the thoughts are hardwired in the subconscious mind. They may need to seek professional help to change the thinking at a deeper level, to help them challenge their thoughts at the conscious level and to change the habitual, negative, repetitive thoughts at the unconscious level. I was watching a documentary the other day and it was, they termed it killing ants, automatic negative thoughts. So these are what they can often need help with, automatic negative thoughts. How you go about killing your ants, helping them to kill their ants, is up to you. But I really like that analogy. Killing those ants. So 3 is you can ask them to shift their behaviour. You can ask them to change and improve their mindset. You can offer to do it with them or for them to do it alone. And it's very important when having these conversations to do it in a calm, kind way. Focusing on how it makes you feel, asking for small behaviour changes, let's say in the area of finances. Could you be a bit more positive around the finances? Could you keep those kind of thoughts to yourself? Could we talk through these? And be clear to avoid sweeping statements, complaining about their personality or suggesting that they have a mental health issue, because that can then shut down the conversation. Definitely a peaceful approach can bring out the best and not in the heat of the moment. Reassure them that you're there for them, you want them to be happy for themselves, and then suggest some changes that you might like to see, and then ask them if there's anything you can change. My 4th tip is to not take their comments or attitude personally. Sometimes we can feel that, God, they're doing it to ruin me. They're doing it to make my life a misery. Or we can take it personally that we're failing. I'm not a good romantic partner because they're so miserable. It's their responsibility to make themselves happy. It's your responsibility to make yourself happy. They may be comfortable in their misery, and if they are, and they're not willing to change, unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do. Inspire, request, be the change that you want to see, and hope that they follow. And then lastly, acknowledge their efforts. It can be difficult for people to change at first, and so complimenting and praising the small things that they're doing. We all know that for children, when you're raising children or encouraging children with things, even if you're not a parent yourself, you give them positive feedback, and 4 positive comments for 1 negative is what the experts suggest. When we encourage positive behaviour with children, in the workplace, in relationships, people want to do more. If people don't feel that their efforts are seen, appreciated, they may retract. They may say, well, what's the point? Even when I do positive things or am positive, you don't even notice, so I can't be bothered. So show your appreciation if they're making an effort. Hopefully it will inspire them again to do more. Overall, it's really important not to label people as negative, as anxious, as having, like I said, mental health problems. Definitely avoid saying you are addicted to being miserable. Probably not going to go down very well. It's better to have that empathy and compassion for them, sharing with them that it must be awful to live like that, and asking them if there's anything you can do to help them see things in a more positive way. And what about if it's you? If you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, Nicola, I can identify with some of the things that you've mentioned today. How can I become more positive? How can I break the cycle of seeing life as not very good? How can I stop complaining? Well, first of all, make a decision that you are going to try and change. You're going to make an effort. Make sure that you get enough sleep. I've got a great podcast on sleep. I've also done a really good video on sleeping in my relationship Facebook group. It can help reduce the risk of waking up grumpy, lethargic and moody. Some people find it helpful to write down positive affirmations that you can read any time you find yourself thinking negatively. Some people explore different mindful techniques. You can Google that and see what ones you might like to try. Attention to your diet and food, of course. What we eat and drink can affect our mood. You can experiment with different types of exercise to find ones that make